bring in Francesco Rizzuto, a professor of European law at Liverpool Hope University, joining me now live from Liverpool. Francesco, thank you very much indeed for your time. So loads of challenges ahead. Let's start with the war in Ukraine. Donald Trump has vowed to end that within 24 hours of taking office. He has, of course, not set out how he plans to do that, and the fear is that will just further embolden Vladimir Putin.
Good morning, Aaron. Yes, lots and lots of challenges. On the Ukraine, the Russians have already said that they're going to play hardball, which means that if an agreement is to be made above the heads of Kiev and the Ukrainians, they will essentially try and put pressure on the Ukrainians, i.e. the Americans in particular, by playing hardball over arms, weapons, and the Europeans are in no position to make up for that shortfall. So essentially the Russians will keep those parts of the Ukraine that they now occupy, and the rump state of Ukraine will continue. By the way, the Russians are also going to play hardball on the second objective, or what was their primary objective in the Ukraine, and that was to clear out what they called this nest of Nazis. So they're probably going to pressure the Americans and certainly Trump to put pressure on to bring about a change of regime, a friendly pro-Russian regime in Kiev. So how he's going to do that, we really don't know, frankly, but those are some of the indications.
Yes, and it's very much the same when we talk about the conflicts further afield in the Middle East. Of course, those have huge ramifications for European leaders, as they do for many countries around the world. Trump has said that he is a staunch supporter of Israel and he has a good relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. But we don't know quite how he's going to do that. No details set out to get a deal done.
Well, I think that he will try and bring about some kind of a rapprochement, a coming together of Israel with some of the so-called moderate states, for example, Saudi Arabia. He will try and, if you like, support Israel in getting together with those states that are anti-Iran. But that's the key. On the basis of his previous presidency, his previous term, Trump is no friend of Iran. And I would suggest that he's probably going to, as I say, on the one hand, try and get Israel to get closer to the moderate Arab states, the anti-Iranian states, and at the same time support Israel in any action to diminish the capacities of Iran ahead. So I think that that's what's going to happen there. Obviously, it's very dangerous. We don't know how it's going to play out in places like Gaza or the Lebanon, which Israel is basically destroying. But the key point here is, what about Europe in all of this? Are we just innocent bystanders or simply useless? And I think that the impact on Europe should not be underestimated. It's not just about NATO and defense. What about trade? He wants a trade war with China, but he also wants a trade war with Europe. If he goes about and introduces 10 to 20% tariffs in Europe, it's going to knock our GDP by 1.5% over the next few years. We've already got a level of growth that is pretty abysmal, as I think I've already said on this program. It'll put us in recession. So Europe needs to react. Now, I think lots of European leaders were shocked because they believe their own myth, i.e. many of them didn't believe that he would actually win. Well, lo and behold, he's won. Now, they've discussed what could happen if he won behind the scenes. But now he's won, and we need to act fairly quickly on defense, on trade, on the impact that he will have internally in the European Union. And we're seeing that in the political community meeting today, where some states, the Hungarians, the Slovakians, to a certain extent the Italians as well, who are very welcoming. Then, of course, we have the subservient states, Great Britain one, special relationship and all of that. So this will have a very divisive impact on the European Union.
Indeed, and very briefly, Francesco, Donald Trump in his first presidency became, the first nation to pull out of the Paris Climate Accord. It's a hugely significant issue. Do you fear that he will do the same again?
Without a doubt, he will do that. He will pull back on the so-called green agenda, which will create all sorts of problems for us in Europe. How we can respond to that, God knows at the present time, but he will pull back. And I just want to point out something else that I think will be very, very visible. The threat that Trump poses to Europe and European views. And here I'm talking about European United views, which don't exist actually, but for the most part, we can hope that they will. He is going to pull back on the green agenda. He is also going to promote people like Musk and another guy called Tilling, who basically would like to destroy and undermine, as well as Bannon, by the way, who's out of prison now, the global order as we all know it. And this is going to be something that is going to be incredibly visible. The Italian Prime Minister congratulated not only Trump, but Musk for Elon Musk, a South African, incidentally, for his great role, not only in terms of money, but social media, X, in his role. So the world is going to change. And I just hope that Europe is up to facing these challenges in a more or less united way. Otherwise, Europe will simply be subservient and submissive.
Indeed. Francesco, we thank you very much, as always. Francesco Rizzuto there joining us from Liverpool Hope University.